thanks for joining us. Obviously very exciting times here at East End Park. We all heard the news yesterday. You look like you're a happy man.
I'm not always happy, Stephen. Yeah, no, absolutely. There's been a lot of hard work going into this transaction. I'm really pleased. First and foremost, as a fan, never mind chairman, this is a huge day, I think, in the future of Dunfermline Athletic, and the calibre of the individuals within the group is exceptional. And just the very first time that we met, through our discussions, just felt that this would be a good marriage, between the skills and the contacts and everything else that the guys have got, allied to what we already have at the club. I just think it's could be transformational.
So this has been in the works for quite some time, going on behind the scenes, I believe, and you just mentioned there you've obviously met them on numerous occasions as well. So how long has this been going on for?
The discussions with GmbH have only really been ongoing since November, but we've probably been speaking to potential investors for as long as 18 months. This is how long this process has been going on, from all over the world, as it turns out, East, West and mainland Europe, and it was actually unbelievable the amount of interest that we had in the club. We never approached anybody. All the investors came to us, and to be fair, some of the opportunities we rejected straight away. They just weren't going to be the right fit for what we're looking at, and what we know about the club. Some other investors, there was real merit, and we pursued some of these to varying degrees. I didn't speak to the German investors, I say, till the end of last year. Went over to Hamburg to meet them. We had a long meeting, a really interesting meeting, got on really well. There was just a good energy about our discussions. They had done a lot of homework already on the club. Surprising amount of due diligence, but again, that was good for me to see that, because they were very keen to move things forward, and it just grew from there. They've come over a couple of times to take in matches. They've been over other times just to have a look around the town, look at various locations in the town, meet the board. We've been out for dinner a couple of times. They're just really genuine football men. They're very successful in their own careers, but they're very humble people, very unassuming, just comfortable in their own skin, and I just think it's a really good match, and they're totally respectful of everything that the community has done to save Dunfermline, because the club was on the floor, and collectively we've all done our bit to pull the club up to a level that we are at now, but we have to be honest with ourselves and say, to move the club further forward, we need to go in a slightly different direction, but not in a direction that will dilute what we've achieved today, or the culture that we've got or the ethos of the club. That is so important, and the real positive for me is the guys are coming from an environment in Germany where the structure of German football is that all the fans are integrated and engaged with all the clubs, the fan ownership model. All the clubs in Germany. We talk many times, Stephen, about the times that we go to Germany to watch football games. There's a lot of things that we can learn from German football, but the fans at the core of all these clubs are the local communities. Now, these guys are not going to change that. They all have a common interest in being St. Pauli fans. And if you do any research on St. Pauli, you will realise just how close the fans are in terms of the running of the club, and also the support that they provide the football club, and that's so important. We do not want to change that aspect of it.
I'm sure that the fifer in you, the cynic in you as well, when you went across and met these guys, and fans are the same. Just like you, and I'm guessing one of the questions was, why have you picked Dunfermline?
Yeah, were you at the meeting, were you? Because I asked that very question. Yeah, no, again, being Scottish, being a Fifer, you are a cynic, aren't you? That comes with the territory. But no, I did actually ask that question, and what was apparent, as I said earlier, is the research that they've done. They realised that we're a big club with a good history, a good community that sits behind the club, and they've seen that through the coronavirus lockdown, how well the community's got behind the club. So again, that ticked another box for them. It would have been easy for the community to not get behind the club after everything it has done over the years, but it didn't. It rallied round yet again, and that proved to them that the decision making on the club was absolutely correct. So they can see the facilities that we've got, they can see the structure of the club, how the club's run, but the club's got potential. There's growth in our club. Other clubs in Scotland maybe who of a similar size, who are maybe in the Premier League, there's not the same level of growth there. There is huge growth. I mean, as chairman of the club, I'd look myself in the mirror and say that we have to do better. We should be achieving better than we are, and that's not a slight on anybody associated with the club. But I'm a fan first and foremost, and chairman of the club. I want our club to be successful, and to be successful, you need to be in the top division and stay there. For years, we've been a yo-yo club, up, back, down. We need to consolidate and stay there. So they could see that potential, they could see what the club stands for, and that was so important to them as well, that they were dealing with people that they felt were transparent and honest, and that's a huge part of a working relationship. If you've got trust and respect, and we've kept the dialogue going through during lockdown. They were happy with the way the club was managed through that process, and again, as I said earlier, they saw the community rallying behind the club, which was vitally important.
Let me just quickly touch on, it was originally meant to all go through before COVID-19 happened, which obviously none of us can help. The original shareholding was going to be 70% and they would take the majority shareholding. What is the reason for them now scaling that back a little bit and then having the purchase option in 2022?
Well, again, the idea was the deal was going to complete at the end of March. Obviously, we've had the pandemic. That was really frustrating and disappointing at the time. And the reality of where we are, let's be honest, nobody knows the effects of this pandemic, how long it's going to go on. We're speaking earlier about all the difficulties that we have this season. So and there's travel restrictions and different things. So the reality is that a lot of the ideas that they'd like to implement, they're not going to be able to do that until the pandemic settles down. So the easiest thing for them could have been to say, right, we'll just defer on doing the full purchase until things calm down. But it says much for them, the mark of the men that they are, that they said, no, we want to show our commitment at the moment. We would like to do something to help the club out. Give it more financial muscle at this stage, because we've enjoyed our discussions. We want to be part of the future of Dunfermline Athletics. So rather than wait, they decided to do it this way, and it was on. It was them that decided that. We didn't put that scenario to them. They came to us and said, look, why don't we do this? So I think it's a fantastic goodwill gesture. So they have got until the end of 2022 to complete the rest. Maybe it'll be sooner than that, depending on the pandemic, because they don't want to be absentee owners. They want to come over, they want to meet the supporters, they want to attend board meetings, they want to get heavily involved, because that's the type of guys that they are. And it's a real shame at this moment in time that they can't be here. And they can't announce their fuller plans that they've got for the club, because they just can't implement them at the moment, and they don't want to give away ideas that other clubs could copy and such like. So that it's just unfortunate, but as I say, it's I just think it shows you the cut of their cloth that they're willing to make this big commitment at this time.
You mentioned there was a number of investors that you knocked back that weren't the right fit for the club. These guys you spoke very highly of, obviously. I'm guessing that you feel that the financial future of this club is secure for the medium and long term with this deal.
Yeah, what I would say is the guys themselves are high calibre individuals. They've all been, as I said, they're successful in their own fields. They've got different experience in different areas which can help the club greatly. This isn't just about, Stephen, financial commitments. This is about bringing ideas and innovation and freshening everything up. There's loads of things that we can learn from, German football and the way German clubs operate, fan engagement, all sorts of different things, and also from a football side, because at the end of the day we're a football club. Yes, there's innovative marketing ideas and things like that we can do, but first and foremost we're a football club. So Thomas's input will be game changing. I think. I mean, you look at the Champions League semi-finals, there was 3 German coaches out of the 4. So in due course, Thomas would come in as sporting director, working closely with the existing coaching staff, and look to change things that we were doing potentially. I'm not saying we will, but again, if we can get added value here and there, then it all helps in terms of getting a competitive advantage over other clubs. So this isn't all just about finance, but yeah, the base that gives us, will allow us to move forward and look to, make improvements in terms of the infrastructure around the club. But as I said in the Q&A yesterday, this isn't splashing the cash. This isn't about racking up debt, by throwing money after things, or making huge changes in terms of the money that we pay players. That's not going to change. This is about building a sustainable football club. Because we can't have boom and bust again. We can't have a situation where we rack up debt and things go wrong, and we have to go back to recreating what we did 7 years ago or whatever. That won't happen again. We don't have that ability to do that. So this has to be run right and run sustainably, and that's absolutely crucial in my eyes.
Let's talk about the on-the-field stuff then. Is Stevie Crawford being kept up to date with what's been happening? What's his views on it? And you mentioned the new sporting director role. They'll be working presumably very closely together. Yeah,
Thomas was actually due to come over to meet Stevie and go to a game actually in March, and again all that was cancelled. So it's been really challenging. But I've kept Stevie up to date. He's really enthused by the changes that we'll make in due course. Largely it will be business as usual in the short term, but Stevie and the coaching staff, because they were all kept informed, believe that this could be a game changer for us. So no, they're excited by it.
And in terms of, you said there it's not going to be boom and bust, but will funds be made available for Stevie, and in a sort of wider aspect in terms of general upkeep of facilities, changing things around the ground, stuff like that? Yeah,
we've got to be careful, because the thing is, what we saw 2 years ago, Stephen, was we had a really difficult season, and we lost £600,000 of cash. All our cash reserves went in one season. 4 out of 5 seasons we've managed to break even, make a small profit, which is exceptional in Scottish football at this level for the overheads that we have within the stadium. But one bad season put us back, and there's not the appetite from the existing shareholders to put in more money, so that's why we've had to look at external investment, but it's the right external investment. So there will be infrastructure changes that we'd like to do, but again we need to do it in a manageable fashion. We can't just be lavish spending, because we don't have that capability. So it will be done in a logical manner, but clearly things like our academy, training facilities, they're priorities at this moment in time, because there's no point bringing in young players to develop if we've not got a decent training facility. We're really lucky this year through my relationship with Mike at Alloa that we've got access to Alloa's pitch, but if we didn't get that, it would be really difficult for us to even train this year. As I said earlier, you can't use council facilities because the council could close them down at any given time. And we've already, it probably starts to make a bit of sense. You saw that we made a lot of signings earlier in the summer 2 and 3 year contracts. Now we did that knowing that we were going to have this backing behind us. So we've already made investments into the playing squad, and we've extended the coaching staff by bringing in Stephen Whittaker and Owen Vaughan-Williams. So we've made that. These are the types of investments that we've already made. But we certainly won't be going out and getting Lionel Messi, that's for sure.
In terms of the structure of the scouting system, that's obviously going to be expanded, given that we've now got access to players in Germany, I would assume. Is there going to be a link up with a team in Germany? How's that going to work?
Yeah, we wouldn't necessarily link up with a particular team in Germany. Thomas has got a lot of really good contacts, and he shared a lot of them with me already. And there's players that he's mentioned to me, and you can see the calibre of some of the players. So there'll be players across Europe, not just Germany. In Germany, for example, there's a big gap between Bundesliga 2 and the regional leagues, and there's a lot of players in Germany very good, talented, gifted, technical players that don't necessarily get an opportunity in the higher leagues in Germany. So we can tap into these types of things. A lot of players maybe go to Eastern Europe to continue to play, and they're not on a lot of money, and a lot of times they don't get paid. So there are a lot of things that through Thomas's knowledge and even in terms of Africa and different other continents, there's opportunities. And clearly, rather than trying to scout in the Scottish market or the English market, if we can widen that out and use Thomas's network to bring players to Scotland who are going to grow and develop, then everybody wants to play in England. Let's be honest. So if we can get a situation where we've got the players that are moving on, then that's an additional revenue stream. And at the moment we've got 2 players with sell-ons that are out in the market. Kevin Nisbet and Jackson Longridge. If they move on, then the club have got significant sell-ons. But imagine how good it would be if we had 8, 9 or 10 players who we've brought in transfer revenue, but if they move again, we've got the additional revenue sell-ons. So that's all part of the plan. And we need to bring in additional revenue. We need to look at opportunities on the marketing side, the commercial side, to bring in revenue that we would never have access to. And I think this is the crucial point, is that I tried to emphasise this yesterday, is that everybody has to understand that we've got to where we are, and everybody's contributing, and we can't bring in this additional investment and everybody then think, the club's fine, we don't need to volunteer, we don't need to do this, we don't need to contribute to the Centenary Club Lifeline. Everybody has to continue to do what they're doing, because otherwise it will just erode the additional money that we're bringing in. We'll not be any better off. Whereas I talk about layers, we've got a cake to this, now we're going to put the jam on top with this additional investment money, and that will allow us all to move forward and increase our chances of success. And that's why everybody has to keep pulling in the same direction, because when everybody pulls at the same direction at this football club, we take some beating, and that's what we've got to continue to do.
I know you might not have an answer to this question, but when do we expect to hear from the guys, see the guys over here?
I think when things settle down in terms of the travel restrictions and such like, I know they are keen to come across and start meeting everybody. We're sitting socially distanced in a box at East End Park, and it's bizarre times. You can't even have a group of people in a meeting. Normally I would have probably had a supporters council, and you can't do any of that at the moment. So it's bizarre times. And communication is so important in terms of getting across to people what your plans and ideas are. And I know the guys are frustrated that they would have liked to have done the deal in its entirety and been able to outline to everybody what their plans are. But I know what their plans are. Their plans are really, really exciting. And I'm enthused, as I said earlier, as a Dunfermline fan first and foremost, that we've managed to attract such a capable group of people to our football club, and that they're going to work with us going forward.
You say work with, the structure as it is just now, i.e. you chairman and some of the other board members are going to remain in place, is that correct?
Yeah, so basically, the three of the investors will shortly be joining the board. All the existing board will stay. I will still remain as chairman. That might be the one negative for a lot of people. But I've agreed to stay chairman and work with investors going forward. I don't see any need to change any of that in the short to medium term. I'm delighted. I just want this club to be successful. That's all that I want. And I just think this is a great opportunity to do that. So yeah, there'll be no changes there. We need continuity. This isn't about an external group coming in and we're handing them the keys and saying thanks a lot, good luck. We're all having to work together. And as I said earlier, that will make this whole project a success. We have to all continue together.
And finally, there was chat about East End, of course, as well as being they have the option to buy East End Park. Is that just a case of bringing the club and the stadium back under one umbrella? Yeah,
Stephen, if I'm being honest, during our discussions, the group, I'm not saying that they've not got an appetite to buy the stadium. It wasn't really at the forefront of their view. I mean, obviously what they want to do is they want to put their imprint on the football club. So they do have an option to buy the stadium 2 years after they acquire the majority shareholding in the club. Whether they do or not, I don't know. They're not property people. It's not something that's the forefront of their mind. Whether it happens or not, or they'll just continue to happy to pay rent to the stadium company. The stadium company's owned. I've got a shareholding in the stadium company along with 8 or 9 other people. So it's all people closely connected to the club. It's in secure hands. If anything, it was our idea to say, well, at some point in the future, you might want to reconnect the stadium and the football club. So they have that option. And what I would say, and I don't know if this has necessarily come out in the question and answer document that I put out yesterday, is that Pars United have a pre-emption right over the football club and the stadium. So if the investors ever want to sell either in the future, we have first option. So they can't sell to somebody else. We have first option. So there's loads of protections that have been built in. We haven't gone into this and left things exposed. This has all been properly structured. So nobody should have any concerns that anything detrimental will happen to the stadium. And really, if I'm being honest, I don't know whether they will buy the stadium or not. They've got the option because clearly, as the majority investor, they should have that. But whether they buy it or not, time will tell.
And finally, just from speaking to you and reading the Q&A and everything that came out yesterday, you feel that this is a real transformational moment in the history of Dunfermline?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you do not get people of this calibre coming available with all the skills that they've got every day of the week. Now, for them to entrust Dunfermline Athletic with their capital and their knowledge and everything else, I just think is fantastic. If I'm being honest, at times I pinch myself to think that we've landed this at our football club. And I know the guys have spoken to probably about 8 or 9 different football clubs, have taken their time, looked about at other opportunities. So this could be transformational. Nothing's guaranteed in life. Nothing's guaranteed in football, as we all know. And falling Dunfermline is full of ups and downs. So nothing's guaranteed. Some of the ideas might not come to fruition. Some might be better than others. But there's a real structure to what we're trying to create, and this could differentiate us from arguably every club in Scotland. Obviously, we're never going to compete with some of the bigger clubs, but if we can get the club stabilised back into the Premier League and stay there, but there's loads of other clubs in Scotland who have the same ideas, so I would never be disrespectful to anybody else. But yeah, I think this is a real exciting day in the future of Dunfermline Athletic Football Club.